Today we're here in Blanchard, Oklahoma. We were at a customer's house who needed some work done on their unit, and while they were doing that, they wanted us to go ahead and install an iWave. What an iWave is just an actual type of air purifier device. Instead of using a filter, which a lot of filters that can get more debris block flow to your actual unit, so that causes a lot of problems. So the iWave is a great option for that. It's a device that puts ions into the air, and ions are just positive and negative particles that can do all kinds of functions. One thing they can do is actually connect to dirt particles. They'll attract to each other, so it takes those dirt and dust particles and clumps them together so that a lesser grade filter can actually pick up those particles. With that, that usually reduces the dust that you find in your house because most of those particles are getting collected in your filter. Another thing it can do is actually kill viruses and other bacteria, and the way it does that is those ions will actually attach to those viruses or bacteria and actually pull out the hydrogen in them and actually end up killing those viruses and bacteria. So it's very helpful with that. There are lots of ionizers on the market today. Some are cheaper, some are more expensive, but reason we like the iWave is with the company it actually works with us and it provides the actual data, third-party data that we need to show that this is how we do it. They're a great company. They back all their iWaves with 3 years warranties. Typical cost for an iWave is usually anywhere from $860 and up. We do have other products that are a little bit cheaper. They have some less benefits than what you would get with an iWave. All right, let's get this installed. I already got the hole cut here, so we're going to go ahead and take this insulation out of here, and then we'll check and make sure it's big enough, and we might have to cut a little bit more. So yeah, so benefits of having it in your supplies, you're going to get full effect of all the ions that are coming out of this, to whereas if you do it in your return, you're going to have some ions get lost due to going over an evaporator coil or anything like that. So a lot of people would want it on their supply. So there's lots of different ways to mount these. You can just put them in the actual blower compartment, or so it actually has magnets on it, so that makes it really easy. You can just take those magnets right there and it'll stick right to the inside of a blower compartment. How we're going to mount it is actually on the outside of this ductwork, so we're going to actually mount it with just simple tap-in screws. Another good feature about these, and one reason we like the iWave, is with other ionizers you have to maintain them. It's not that big of a deal. These have little bristles here that put off the negative and positive iWaves, and every year you want to clean those with just like a nylon brush, to whereas this actually has a feature that every so often they will go through there and they will clean those off, so you're getting the most ions as possible. That's a great feature about the iWave that a lot of other ionizers don't have. The biggest thing for mounting this is you're looking at those magnets are on the back side, and that's what they're made for. Is if you were just to throw it into a blower compartment or mount it somewhere where it has somewhere you can just stick it right there. But really on something like this where you cut a hole, you want to have screws on it because you want a secure mounting place, and that's why they don't put just magnets on the other side. So now that's not going anywhere. Or this is another good point to point out. These have different ways of wiring them up. These are actually made to either wire up with 24 volts, or you can actually go with something higher voltage like 240 or 110. So that's really nice on these, is it gives you the option. Inside here, it actually takes that voltage and drops it down to what they need. So it does not matter what you mount it for. These actual brown wires, what they're used for is actually just sending a signal to a light. So if you wanted to wire this in to indicate to a light when it was on, when it was off, you could actually wire it in for that. All right, so right now we're going to go and we're going to get this mounted up. So where I'm taking it is I'm going right where the actual low voltage wire is going through. We're going to go through the same hole so we don't have to make a new one. With anything, you want to make sure you turn off the power. I will say with modern units, you want to wait a little bit anytime you're messing with electricity on them. They have all kinds of different features that can actually hold power. So if you are messing with any kind of the new units, it's always a good rule of thumb to wait a few minutes to make sure any capacitors that they have discharge. Right now I'm going to put some wire nuts on the wires I'm not going to use. You have one thing short out and you always use wire nuts after that. And then we're going to take the rest and we're going to tie them onto our voltages. So we want one to go to ground. Obviously your green, you're going to want to go to ground. Your black, you're going to want to go to, in this case, because we're using the 24 volts, we're going to take it to R. And our white, we're going to take to our common. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to actually have to change some of this wiring around so that we can make it work. We're actually too short of wires. So we're going to readjust some things here so we can get that issue fixed. All right, so we got everything installed and we're about ready to fire it off. Of course, some of the difficulties we run into is just figuring out how we're going to wire that in, because we're having too short of wires, so we got to extend wires. But we got it all good to go, so we're ready to fire it off. Now we just need to give it some power. On the iWave, actually where it says iWave on here, right above there is an actual green light to let you know that it's actually working. So if you just turn it on, that light's on, so everything should be good and working. Like I said before, it does have this on-off switch that you can turn on if you ever do need to remove the iWave to check anything, but for the most part, just want to keep that on. Now, some things to note on this, and these are different things that people are going to talk about on it. You can run this, it just stays on all the time, always putting out ions. But one thing you might want to do, and if you want the full effect of everything, is to actually run your fan on, and that's going to allow all those ions to get into your house. Especially if you have a newer system. Most newer systems have lower speed fans that run whenever you call for just fan, so that's always a benefit, that you're not using as much energy. A unit like this, I would definitely suggest just running it on the fan on always. This fan actually runs at about 30% capacity when it's just calling for the fan. The amount of energy that this unit's actually pulling is nothing compared to older systems. We're going to definitely put a sticker on here to say when it was installed. This is a great option, like I said, for anybody that's in a homeowner. They're getting more and more affordable every day. If you're looking to solve more of your air quality issues, I would not suggest definitely a filter, although that is an option, but I would definitely suggest something like this to make sure your home's healthy and clean.